Do you understand that the experience of love is the experience of the absence of separation?
Yes, of course.
I know you do. If love is the absence of separation, that is the absence of self or other, how could a separate self either love or be lovable? You are absolutely right that whether or not our personal story, we have a personal story that accompanies and reinforces the belief, I am unlovable. Some of us do have such a story, others don't. But for all apparently separate selves, the feeling of being unlovable and unable to love accompanies the separate self. Because the existence of the separate self is the denial or refusal of love. So you're right, all separate selves, whether they have an accompanying, reinforcing story or not, are incapable of love, incapable either of giving love or of receiving love. And that is why so many people feel, I am unlovable. And the separate self does all kinds of things to itself in order to make itself more lovable. And sooner or later they all fail. They all fail because the separate self can never be loved. The separate self is itself the veiling of love, the denial of love, the refusal of love. So if the self wants to experience love, it has to lose its sense of separation.
So it's for that I am feeling that love, it's at the same time the beginning, the path, and the end of I don't know to name it, of the teaching or the understanding we have.
Absolutely. That is why it's said that at the highest expression of the path of knowledge, jnana yoga, and the path of love or devotion, bhakti yoga, is the same path. Knowing, knowing only, knowing. Love, loving only, love. A knowing that admits of no subject and object. A knowing that is and knows itself alone. And a love that admits of no self and other. A love that loves only love. It's the same.
Yeah.
One is an expression that comes through the channel of the mind, the other an expression that comes through the channel of the heart.
Yeah.
But that's why at the culmination of the path of knowledge and the path of devotion, that they meet in the same. So that's why Rumi said, I searched for myself and found only God. I searched for God and found only myself.
So, as you know, I'm already looking for, comment on dit, proof. And thanks to that, each time we feel more love and more lovable also, but more love, it's a proof that the separate self, it's already started to disappear, because he allowed love to express through this agency, isn't it? So it's a beautiful proof to trust on our path and in our understanding. You understand me?
The first question, or it wasn't quite the first question, but one of the first questions I was ever asked, it was at the Science and Non-Duality conference, the first one I did just very soon after I started teaching, and a physicist, I gave a short introduction, and a physicist asked me the question, what is the proof that consciousness is infinite? And without thinking about it, And without even understanding the import of what I was saying, I said love. Love is the proof that consciousness is infinite. It was some time before that statement really filled out in my understanding. So the intuition came of it before the knowledge came of it. But the experience of love is the proof. People think that the proof is somehow can be some marvelous new formulation or idea in the mind. No, the proof that consciousness is infinite is the experience of love or beauty. What could be a higher proof? Only something more valuable than love could be valued as a higher proof. But is there anything, is there a higher prize in life than love? It's the ultimate prize and therefore the ultimate proof. Someone could come to these meetings and understand almost nothing of what was said. I would go even further. Someone could come to these meetings and understand nothing of what was said. And yet they could come repeatedly, year after year, and just bathe in this. When I say this, I mean everything that takes place in our meetings, not just the guided meditations and conversations, but the meals, the walks, the poetry, the music, everything could just put themselves in this ocean. And they would feel, without understanding why, or without having any rational explanation for it, they would feel an increase of peace and an increase of love. That person would be the one who had deeply understood this teaching, although he or she may not be able to explain a word about what we speak of here. And someone who could explain in great detail all the lines of reasoning that we explore here, and yet was devoid of this peace and love, would be one who had not yet fully understood this teaching. And it's valid. I don't mean to preference either approach. It's valid. Some people get the experience intuitively first, and then they spend some time, usually some years, explaining and rationalizing that experience and asking many questions about it. Other people have the intuition but not the experience, and they go through a series of rational processes, lots of questions and answers, before their intuition becomes their experience. And both ways are equally legitimate. And that is why we don't sit on our mats here from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. It's why we have meditations, conversations, time for walking, time for music, time for music. It's because it's a teaching that in which truth, love, and beauty are given equal status. None is preferenced over the other. All three channels, truth that comes through the channel of thinking, beauty that comes through the channel of perceiving, love which comes through the channel of feeling, all three are given equal status in the way that we gather and spend our time together here.